Ba-da-ba-ba, ba-da-ba-ba. All right. Promoter 101. 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 Promoter 101.
CJ Strzok from WME. We're on Promoter 101.
Promoter 101 is back just like clockwork.
That's right. You can always count on us this week. We've got 3Deep's Francois Baptiste talking about the hip-hop game in the Rocky Mountain region.
And a war story from Madison House's Adam Bauer. This is not a repeat. Last time he had a cooking segment. This time he's got a war story. Both very entertaining.
All right, let's start the show.
This is Meg White from ICM, and you're listening to Promoter 101.
Hey, Connor, do you remember where you can listen to Promoter 101?
Of course, I got this. You can listen to Promoter 101 on SoundCloud and iTunes and Spotify. Boom!
Connor, you may have finally gotten it. Yes, you can listen there and so many more places.
Oh, gee, thanks, Luke. I'm going to catch up on Promoter 101 right now.
If you've got something you want to share with us, you can always email us at steiny@promoter101.net. We're happy to hear from you always.
If you'd rather hit us up on social media, you're more than welcome to follow us on Twitter. Join the conversation. I'm at W. Luke Pierce. Dan's at The Jew. The show is at Promoters 101 or Promoter 101, wherever you like.
We're on Instagram at steiny@promoter101. Luke is W. Luke Pierce, and I am Dan Presents.
And of course, check us out on Facebook, Promoter 101.
Same on Tumblr.
And on the World Wide Web, Promoter101.com. Plus, find us now on LinkedIn, where all the cool hip kids are doing their social media, Dan.
The cool hip kids. We're at the cool kids table.
Hello, fellow kids.
Shlomo Lipitz, City Winery. I'm on Promoter 101.
There's nothing like name dropping a whole bunch of names in the music industry by celebrating some birthdays this week, April 16th to 22nd, 2019.
Tuesday the 16th, Eric Coral. Happy birthday, dude.
On Wednesday the 17th, wishing a happy birthday to Morgan Kenny, Toby Lawrence, up in Boston, Nicole Barcelona, and Simon Shaw.
Thursday the 18th, Don Kromberg, a.k.a. The Earring, although he took it out, said, can we still call him? I think we should just historically call him The Earring. Anyway, Michael Belkin up in Cleveland, and the great Jim Fleming in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
On Friday the 19th, wishing a happy birthday to UTA's Alec Vidmar.
Saturday, 420, Rick Farrell, Ian Goldberg, and Hunter Williams, three guys that make sense that they'd be born on 420, Luke.
It does make a whole lot of sense.
Love them. All three of them. Great guys.
Great guys, great birthdays. Saturday's a great day of celebrations. And on Sunday, we've got some more birthdays with Tim Higgins, Paradise's Jim Lins, Emporium Presents Danny Cohen, Gary Witt, and Julie Baker.
Monday the 22nd, Jamie Kelso, Brad Dumas, and Michael Goldberg from the Belly Up. You know his brother is actually the wrestler Goldberg? That's pretty impressive, huh?
That is pretty impressive. After all those undefeated streaks, I'm really shocked that he's still putting up a table at Matsu Hisa in Denver.
Goldberg. Okay. No? Okay.
Wonderful wishes to everybody on your birthdays from the gang at Promoter 101.
Hey, it's Jonathan Shank from Red Light Management on Promoter 101.
In our first interview this week, we're going to be joined with a special war story from Madison House's Adam Bauer.
Coming to you from Auburn, Washington, and joining us at the office today, Adam Bauer. Welcome to the podcast and to our office.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice digs down here in southern Seattle, Washington.
We're in the hood, of middle suburbia.
No, it's Seattle. You're a publicly traded company now. It's Seattle. I dig it.
Well, enough about me. Let's talk about you. You got a war story for me?
Sure. I'm going to go way back when I first was starting out in the business. I worked for a national talent buying company, the Good Music Agency that later became the Talent Buyers Network. And I was here with my basically chief mentor and my first job out of college. I was working for Kel Houston.
Casino buyer now, right?
Yeah, casino buyer,
successful.
Super successful casino buyer. He's been doing it for years. He's an excellent human, great mentor. Anyways, I was up here in Seattle and I was doing all kinds of different buying. I would book comedians for a comedy agency, another Northwest kind of local talent buying company, Pacific Rim talent who's been here for decades. Craig Cook, another great individual, and also Pat Wilson, who was the comedy agent that I worked for. Kel and I did a lot of colleges, so Kel had me booking all the Northwest schools. Anyways, it was 1997, 98. I was here in Seattle, and we were booking a run of dates. We had 2 shows with the Mighty Mighty Bosstones. Dropkick Murphys was a
Big Boston show, man.
big Boston show. It was when
Rude Boy?
Yes, everything with all their hits were hitting at that particular moment in time. And we put together 2 shows, one at the University of Idaho and the other at MSU Bozeman. Everything was signed, sealed, and delivered. We booked it probably 4 to 5 months out from the dates. I had all the colleges sign off on everything. We sent back, revisions to the writer long in advance of the dates. Anyways, I was down covering another show at the Showbox, and I get a call. It's about a week out from the shows. It's from the agent of a major agency who will go nameless, who I don't even think is in the business anymore. But he was basically screaming at me about a no mosh pit. Basically, MSU Bozeman had a policy where they had to have seats all the way up to a certain point on the floor, so there wouldn't be a large open floor in front of the stage.
So that big oval of a circle pit couldn't get going.
Something like that. It was, it was like they wanted 40 feet in front of the stage to be open, or 20 feet, whatever it was. I can't remember the exact number, and we had about 10 feet. So this agent calls me screaming at me. They're going to possibly have to pull the date. And I said, well, you guys can't do that. Deposit's in. We have everything done. This thing's been in front of you. All of our revisions to your writer and everything else. This is nothing that was ever discussed. All your revisions are back in your hands. And you guys had this for months. And now you guys are coming and screaming at me. Every word in the book. I had to get on the phone with the legal department of the agency. And it was basically a big, big disaster. So as a result, I was going out to the University of Idaho to cover that show. And so I hit the road and drove out there, because this is when, at my age in the business, you just kind of drive around the countryside all over the place. You don't have the money. You don't have the money to fly around. Get to the show. I'm there literally for 5 minutes. And at that time, I was asking my boss, Cal, what I should do. And he's like, you should talk to the road manager. And so within 5 minutes of being there, I sat down with the road manager and said, this is the deal. And the road manager's like, fuck, no problem. Go for it. It's fine. We'll make it work. So after all this, after the screaming, after the yelling, after everything else that went down, it took a short conversation with the road manager to straighten out the whole mess and save the date. I still ended up having to go out and cover that show because I didn't want any other problems. But everything went smooth. Both shows sold out. Happy kids in both campuses. And it just goes to show, and I use this probably in my daily life, is I never, ever want to treat another human to the point to where it is a screaming match, handling things in such an unprofessional manner that everybody's just yelling back and forth. So I've lived by that mantra pretty much the rest of my career.
So it was a good learning experience for you at the end of the day, though. That's the impression that I get.
Yeah.
Promoter 101, hanging out with the great Adam Bauer from the world of Madison House.
Thank you.
Adam is always a joy to spend time with. Thrilled to have him back on Promoter 101.
Hey everyone, this is Cindy Leinott,
Kira Finkenberg,
Patty Ann Tarleton,
Whitney Bond,
Amy Miller,
John Holiday,
Marcy Allen,
Paula Palazzo,
Becca Leifer,
and you're listening to Promoter 101.
Promoter 101.
Promoter 101.
and I'm on Promoter 101.
Everyone's favorite time this Monday. It's the announcement of the Promoter 101 Badass of the Week. Who we got this week, Dan?
This week, being particularly time sensitive, has to go to the king of Coachella, AEG's Paul Tillett, making the best festival the world pretty much knows, making him this week's Promoter 101 Badass of the Week, Paul T.
Congrats goes out to Paul T. Well deserved.
And the entire Golden Voice team, really, because they really pull off an incredible hat trick of events. Well done, guys.
Hey, this is Nick Miller from Jam Productions, and I'm on Promoter 101.
In our featured interview this week, we're joined from Denver from 3D Productions' Francois Baptiste, here to talk about the hip-hop game in the Rocky Mountains.
Hanging out in Denver, Colorado with one of my oldest and dearest friends, Francois Baptiste, in the fucking house.
My man Dan, what's going on?
Dude, I'm excited about this.
Dude, it feels like old days. I'm excited to do this as well, man.
If hip-hop plays the Rocky Mountain region, it doesn't matter who's touching it, Live Nation, AEG, or anybody else. You're usually involved, and if you're not, the show ain't working.
I would like to think that, but I am involved in most of these hip-hop shows, and hopefully they all work. That's a political thing, I'm going to say.
let's say the better part of 75% plus of the shows that play the region, you got your hands in one way or another.
That is true.
That's been the case for the better part of 2.5 decades.
Yeah, man. I came to Colorado in 91 to go to the University of Colorado in Boulder. I caught the bug soon after that of concert promotions and live music, and I just haven't stopped.
You got the bug as a kid. You were a club promoter, basically, when you started.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I went to CU, and I had no clue what I wanted to be. And, I was throwing house parties and clubs and everything underneath in Boulder. I had bumped into Don Strasberg, who had just opened up the Fox Theater in 93. So I probably officially started working with them like 94. Just hip hop at that time, too, was such a taboo music genre in Colorado. It was very like...
Yeah, kind of like EDM was originally, like warehouses and like kind of shady ass, and then it became real. You have to check the date on the Fox. I think it may be closer to 91.
Somewhere right in there, 92, 93. Because I remember I was a college student at that time, and I'd walk around on the hill, get food, drink, whatever. There was this crazy guy standing outside every day, same time. I had like this mobile phone that was connected to his pocket, and I just see him screaming outside. And a mutual friend of ours, William Gully, God rest his soul, brought me in there, and we just hit it off. I mean, I think one thing I liked about at that time, people loved hip hop. They were just terrified of it.
Well, you couldn't get the shows insured at that time. It was like a whole thing. People were really afraid.
Terrified.
And there was this thing where if you could get them insured, it was this huge cash advance that you laid down as a bond, plus it was like $1 a head.
It was nuts.
And this is when insurance was still like 20 cents a head or something.
Yeah. And then, just security alone for a show was astronomical. Just because people from security to have police officers there, it was just crazy. I remember some of the early shows. I'm pretty sure one of the first shows there was Common Sense, Organized Confusion, and nobody thought it would do well. I think at this time this was Cara Lewis too, and we put on sale and it blew out. Like, it's crazy. I really think we probably had a security card per person there. At least 5 cops. I just remember it was like, no, we have to be safe. We have to be safe. And the city wants us to be safe on this hip hop show. And I'm like, this is common sense, guys. Like, it's at that time, it was called Common Sense, but it's common, And so it was just like, of course, it went off without a hitch.
Now, you're indie, but you've worked with everybody and you continue to work with everyone, and you're able to ride that fence of being able to work with everybody, and everybody's cool with that. That's some serious politicking and some spin doctor shit, man.
It's been a very interesting ride, but
especially in this competitive market, particularly Denver.
Yeah, but as you know, everybody knows everybody in this city.
Yeah, but they don't necessarily like everybody, but everybody likes you.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm glad that's the case. I mean, I think, everybody's seen the growth over the years. Like, literally everybody I know that's in a president position right now, vice president, I've seen them grow. I was there when they started, our good friend Eric Parrott, when he used to work at the Fox Theater. EP, at CU back in the day. I mean, I've seen him, I'm proud of that guy. That's my guy, Don, went from the Fox Theater to Live Nation to AEG. I mean, that's impressive, man. That's really impressive. Our good friend and rest his soul, Barry Fay, met him in the weirdest places, but, we became friends. And when he came back to House of Blues for a while to come back to work, I mean, we had a ball. Barry was fun to work for.
Hey, let's talk about that for a little while. You literally were on Jason Miller's desk.
Yes.
When Jason was co-running or doing the day-to-day for the most part in Denver. I don't know what the title was, but I think in actuality, Jason was basically running that office.
No, he ran it. Just real quick on Jason Miller, because I got to give him props. He held the fort down, like, through the changes of companies, through changes of personnel, and, before he left finally, and House of Blues went away. I mean, he was the captain of the ship, and he kept it afloat well, and the battles were epic. So I just want to say, I salute that guy. That's my guy right there. I was literally got out of college and I was working at a record store in Boulder. And Jason walked in with Mike Hamill, who at that time was
Boulder Theater.
And it wasn't anything special. Mike introduced us and we shook hands. We talked a little bit about hip hop, and Jason was VP at that time of Universal. And that was it. And he just like, yeah, we're going to have some hip hop shows coming in soon. And I kind of left it at that. And he had called me. It was funny. Jason Zink called me and was like, yeah, we want you to promote the LL Cool J show. That's fine. So I kept calling, and Jason was busy. So I just kind of left it go. And so here's how the universe kind of works. As I flew out to San Francisco to work with a friend of mine who's a rap artist in Denver and work with Souls of Mischief and Hyro crew out in the Bay Area. And I literally had just found out probably like 2 weeks before that I was going to have a baby.
Oh, wow.
So broke college student. I didn't know what I was doing. I love music. I literally get off the plane. And this is funny too. My beeper starts going off and it's Universal Concerts 911, 911. And I'm like, what is this going on? So I was like, all right, let me call over there. And I talked to Zink and Zink was like, yeah, Jason Miller would like to talk to you. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm thinking about the promoter. He was like, look, we're going to have a position opening for assistant. Would you like to come and work at Universal as an assistant? It was just one meeting with somebody and then the universe and having kids. So that really made my music experience like really powerful when I went over to Universal and worked with Jason all those years. And then when, like I said, when Barry came in, the knowledge and the legend in Denver, working with Barry was just so much fun.
So let's talk about some stereotypes.
Yeah.
Hip hop promoters, particularly independent hip hop promoters, are considered some of the most janky promoters in the world. I mean, it's so bad Ice Cube made a movie called Janky Promoter just about this. Concert promoters, when we started, were like used car salesmen. They had terrible reputations.
Right.
And now it's you have to have a sterling reputation to get the acts, or you don't get them.
Yeah.
We've seen that change over the years.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the things that you had to combat to fix that, and issues that maybe would have been easier that are easier now that originally you're like, man, this is impossible?
Well, I think it's both sides, you know. Sometimes
and it's a stereotype. It's not there are good hip hop promoters, and there always have been.
I totally agree. And I think it just came from very early in booking hip hop concerts is that there's a hustle in hip hop, regardless, street hustle, whatever. And a lot of times people didn't understand the amount of money you can make if you do good business. And so there was a lot of things happening, just flat guarantees and, you know, showing up late. People did a lot of shit that they just thought was cool too back in the day, you know, like, just fuck sound check, you know, I'll just show up late and just get on stage. They didn't understand sound checks is pretty important, you know, but that's the artist side. But in terms of the promoters, you know, it's hard to be a promoter, as you know. There's certain things that you need to do in terms of like, make sure you know who you're booking through. Right now, if you were to book a hip hop artist, there's 15 middlemen out there right now that will book it. Some of them you may get there, some of them you may not. I mean, I still deal with that today. I mean, who doesn't get crazy emails from random agents that, you know, hey, we have this roster. I know that's
and
not
they spoof the email address somehow, and it looks like it's the real agency.
Oh, and it's nuts.
It's a .co instead of .com or something. They get you.
Yeah.
And then you send a deposit, you never see it again, and they're gone.
That's it. You know, and a lot of these guys would book these shows and the artists would never show up. You didn't want to give your money back to the customers because you have some losses. You know, hip hop has been a wild, wild west over the years. I think finally, and I think a lot like EDM, you know, they finally realized it's a big business. If you do it right, if you work with the right people, you can make a lot of money.
Clearly, those guys come and go, and you've been doing this a long time. So then that speaks to how good you are at this.
That's one thing I've learned, as well as I always wanted to put myself out there as being an honest, solid person. If I book somebody, they're going to be there, you know, especially in the nightclubs, deposits on time, just, you know, basic good business shit, you know, just people forget some of the little things sometimes mean the most.
Let's talk about what I know would be one of your crowning achievements in the industry. And I know you've had more and there's been other peaks, but Up in Smoke's tour ran around the country and played a lot of markets and sold out everywhere, but Denver did too.
Yeah.
And everybody was pretty sure there was only one reason Denver got to 2 sold out shows. And all those fingers pointed in your direction. That had to be a pretty amazing moment.
I don't know if I can put that in my hands, but I think that one of the Up in Smoke tour was amazing. I don't
No,
think
I mean, you're talking, Snoop, Dre, M.
Exhibit.
Right. I think Cube wasn't on those dates because it was the end because he was shooting a movie.
Dog Pound.
But the whole crew. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you marketed those shows, but you built a market over time that collectively made it that hip hop was just bigger in Denver than any of the other markets in the middle of the country.
Yeah, the tour ended here. So those guys were actually here for 3 days. And so
that bowling party at the end was amazing.
Monaco Lanes, baby. And luckily, some of the guys were just really good friends of mine. So we had
I think I seem to remember Dre bowling in his socks. Is that right?
Yeah. So I had crazy requests. So, you know, they wanted to do a rap party and strippers and all kinds of crazy stuff. So they came out early. So we did a pre-party that night. And here's a kind of crazy story for you too, where I thought my promoting career was going to be over. So it was right downtown Denver, and Exhibit is actually a good friend of mine. And so I asked him if he'd want to host this party. And it was at a bar called Taboo way back in the day.
Right. It used to be a hot club.
Yeah, hot club. And so I was also friends with DJ Jam, who's Snoop's DJ at that time. I don't know. She finally became Snoop's tour manager, Jilly. So we did this party. Exhibit gets on stage. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Snoop, the Dog Pound, I think Dr. J came to the party. They all performed for about an hour. This is before the show.
You got Minnie Up in Smoke.
I wish I had a camera at that time. It was one of those epic moments of my career of like, I just did this little party and for a little money and everybody's here. It was insane. But the funny part about it is that I had to take Corrupt, Saphir, and maybe I think it was Exhibit back to the hotel. So we jump in my Jeep Cherokee at that point and we pull out from the club. At that time, I had these huge 12-inch speakers in there. So Corrupt turns up some new song he had from the Dog Pound. We turn the corner and the gang unit pulls us over. And I mean the gang unit. I think every gang unit person in the country pulled us out. And Corrupt at that time was probably weighed $105. So he had like 5 pairs of jeans on, or actually like basketball sweatpants, and he had weed on him. And this is when it was obviously not legal. And so they pull us out the car, and it's really like a gang search. They have us all on the sidewalk, and I'm like, fuck, these guys got the show tomorrow. We can't go to jail. So we all sit out there, and they have us, our legs crossed and looking at IDs, and we're telling it. Luckily, I think Saphir had his laminate on. He's like, oh, we're here. I'm sitting next to Corrupt. I can smell the weed coming from him. And I'm just thinking, like, we're going to jail. Jason Miller's going to fire me tomorrow morning because I got everybody locked up. Luckily, one of the guys in the gang unit was like, you guys are performing tomorrow. And I'm pretty sure Exhibit was like, and I think Exhibit was like, you want a picture? The guy was like, yeah. I was like, shit, okay. I think somebody had some camera from, I don't know what they had it from. And so they took a picture and they let us go. But I can tell you the fear in my soul right there. I was just thinking, like, how am I going to tell everybody tomorrow what happened?
Did you? Or did you keep that one quiet for a while?
I think I told Jason later on, but both shows were sold out, so I just kind of let that one go. It was a terrifying moment in my career.
Before I let you go, I want to jump ahead real quick. This week we had a massive loss in the hip hop world, and a major loss for the community too, because he was such an out front guy.
I mean, he sold out Denver every time, and every time I met him, he was just that guy. Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace. It's not even a hip hop problem. I think it's just society. I mean, society's rough.
I mean, that guy was young though. He would have had another 20 years in him.
He was a brilliant individual. Like, there was way more to him than music. I was reading a bunch of stuff today, and people were asking me, what do you think about this and that? And I was just like, all I can tell you is that he was a genius in his own way in terms of just the way he looked at the gifts that he were given, and he was giving back all the time. And that's very rare these days, and if you know anything about his upbringing, you can see it was a struggle from the jump, and he just really had overcome the typical stereotypes of coming out of, South Central Los Angeles, and was really making a splash on the youth in terms of business and what you're giving back to the community and put your money where your mouth is. It was very, very impressive.
This is the second arena headliner that hip hop has lost in the last couple months, because Mac Miller was lost as well. Obviously, the different circumstances, but the tragedy of losing artists that are so powerful in the industry is felt across the plane. Is there anything in your mind that society can do to change the tempo or that? Or is it just...
I think that the best way to explain this is just that history repeats itself. 20 years, I remember when Tupac and Biggie got killed. I was literally had Run DMC at the Boulder Theater, and I'll never forget, I had to go pick up Run DMC to take them to the airport. And I remember I was in the bed and MTV came on. This is when I think Biggie got killed. And I remember, the scroller around the bottom of MTV News back in the day. Yeah. Breaking news. Biggie Smalls has been killed in LA. And I remember I jumped in the van. I still had the van I was running in, drove over to the hotel, and everybody had left. All the East Coast people were like, go back to the East Coast. There's this war going to get on. But you would think after somebody influential like Pac and Biggie died, and many more after that, that society would be like, these are our stars. These are people we look up to. And death it's over when you're dead. There's no coming back, and I think a lot of this glorification over the years, people don't understand that. And so you would hope that nobody else has to die in a violent way, but unfortunately, it's going to happen again. And it's terrible. It sucks.
I don't want to end on such a negative note, so I want to bring it back. It's a poignant thing, and I do appreciate you commenting on it.
No problem.
But I want to get some advice from you for the younger generations coming up, because I got to say, there are very few people that I've ever met that have had a clear vision of what they want to do and have continued to persevere and build in the industry. And it's amazing to see what you've created here in Colorado. So what can the future generations that want to be in the business do for a long-term career like you've had?
Well, what I tell everybody, I actually just spoke at DU the other day to a college music class, and I just told them is you have to, one, have a fire in your gut like no other. Like, you will see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And as long as you stay on a straight and narrow path and you know what your vision is, you'll be fine. But in doing that, you also have to find a mentor, find people that have been doing it longer, attach yourself to those people, and sometimes just shut up and listen. Be the fly on the wall. I mean, I can't tell you how many crazy meetings I've had in my lifetime to where sometimes you just sit there and you're like, I'm sitting in this meeting with these promoters that are icons, or, managers that are icons. And I'm just going to be quiet and listen to how they solve this problem or what they talk about. I think it's made me a better promoter, a better person, a better business person over the years. Always trying to keep in touch with people. Like, you and I have been friends for going on 20 years now. Anything you need, you got it from me. I think it's important for these younger kids just to understand that it's a competitive market out there. It just really is. You got to find your niche and run with it.
I can't thank you enough for taking the time, Francois Baptiste on Promoter 101.
Man, I really appreciate that, man.
Francois has been a great friend for so many years. Thrilled to finally have him here on the podcast talking hip hop with us.
It's Adam Voith from Billions, and I'm on Promoter 101.
The quote of the week comes to us from Bobby Knight. That's right, I'm going sports this week, Luke.
That's Robert Montgomery Knight. I love it. Not to name drop, but he was a Pierce family Thanksgiving attendee for 3 or 4 years straight.
Do you know Bobby Knight?
Yes.
Well, fuck the quote. Let's get into this. How the fuck does that happen?
Just being from Indiana, my dad played basketball in Kansas back in the day, like during the Wooden eras.
Joe Pierce?
Joe Pierce played basketball in Kansas back in the day and kept a lot of ties in Indiana, as you do, to basketball. And so through his connections in business and in life and in golf, became friends with Bobby Knight. And so when my sister went to IU back in the early 90s, she's much older than I am, they kind of struck up an even deeper friendship from there. There's some times in like the early and late 90s, I remember him being around. My dad kind of went in and out of this like great friendship to awful friendship. It was like this very peculiar relationship with Bobby Knight. It'd be hugs and rounds of golf and dinners and stuff. And then one of them would blow up at each other and they wouldn't talk for 6 months. But Robert Montgomery Knight was a family friend and still is. So he's down in Texas. I've not seen him in a while. I'm sure my dad has talked to him for a while, but growing up, I, did all the Bob Knight basketball camps, all that shit.
Well, I think since he is a family friend, you should have the honor of reading the quote.
Yeah, this is a good one from Robert Montgomery Knight. To be as good as it can be, a team has to buy into what you as the coach are doing. They have to feel you're part of them and they're part of you. Good stuff from the man down in Texas now.
Wow, now I got to start looking for quotes that are going to trigger better stories. I love this. We've just raised the bar here on Promoter 101.
Hi, this is Melanie Davis. I am the tour marketing director for ICM Partners. I'm on Promoter 101.
That wraps up our broadcast day. Thanks for tuning in to episode 142 of Promoter 101. Thank you to all of our wonderful guests this afternoon. 3Deep's Francois Baptiste, Madison House's Adam Bauer, wishing you all a wonderful week ahead.
We'll be back this Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, and on the Greenwich Mean Time, that'd be London for you people, midnight over the pond.
Next Thursday, we're going to be back at 143 of the podcast. The show will feature DHB's family's Anton Lockwood sitting down for a great featured interview.
Until then, we're wishing you sold out shows for the weeks to come.
Cheers. Call your mother.
She worries. Call her.
She worries. She worries, Dan.
Have a little something. Just an ash. Call your mom.
This is Dan Weiner from Paradigm on Promoter 101.
Ba-da-ba-ba, ba-da-ba-ba.